Okay, here we go. The next court in the Grifball Hub, Forge Hub, HAMMERFALL Grifball Court Contest. The next court is Sledge's Court by Foge, Foge. Canvas is a glacier, and the description is play the sport of champions in the court of Sledge. So let's have a look. These are the running start platforms here. Just gonna confirm that they are, that the actual, I keep forgetting what that thing, keep forgetting what that's called. That is called the transition ratio. It's outside of the room. That's all that matters for that. That's a pretty interesting man cannon. Normally we like being flung onto the court, but let's just take a sprint and see how that plays. Just gonna have a quick look at the outside of the court. Yeah, I can see what might be a few issues. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We'll see. Here, let's just take a sprint and. Well, it drops you into the right place. Kind of an interesting way to do it. See, it just kind of. Oh, I can't. It just kind of plops you down in. Oh, I see, because that's on an overhang. Oh, okay. See, I was assuming that this was the edge of the court, and it was just plopping it down. But this is an actual overhead piece here. Okay, so let's have a look, and I'd like starting at the top. The ceiling is a bit low, but it's acceptable. I've seen lower. I've seen lower ceilings, so that's acceptable. You can make a pretty decent pass without having to worry about it, and yeah, that's quite acceptable. I'm not sure about the size, but sometimes it's hard to tell with a court what the actual size is by looking at it, because this court could be. It looks a bit bigger than standard, but it could be exactly the same. I guess the only way to tell is to drop a prefab in, but you know what? I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's used my prefab. And if he's used my prefab, then I know it's right. So, yeah, and that's definitely my prefab. I recognize it. He's used two prefabs. He's used the starting platform prefab, and then he just tore the starting platform apart and move the things around on it, which is what you're supposed to do with them. That's why they're there. You take my prefabs and you just use them the way you want to use them. There's a perfect example of that. He just took all the pieces off it, tore it apart, and put them where he wanted them. So that is a little bit of an obstruction here, but it's not too bad. The players are going to expect to hit that when they throw the ball up there, so that's okay. Now here. Oh no, okay, I see. So what he's done, he's got a rectangular court, and he's included the wall hop ledges in a rectangular court, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of courts that are like this out there right now. Nothing wrong with doing it this way. Just making sure, always test to make sure that you cannot clamber at any point along this ledge, and sometimes where there's seams, that's not a seam. But sometimes where there's a seam, you can clamber. This looks like, yeah, that's just one giant floor piece. It's a 256 by 4. So that's all one giant piece. So that should be fine. There is I'm going to show you something here. There's an obstruction on the wall hop here. And you see there's an obstruction here. And there's an obstruction here. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with putting obstructions on the wall hop ledges and on the clamber ledges. If the players would like them to be nice and clear, and for this one, in the most part, it's just the corners. But you're going to jump there anyhow. Very rarely is a player going to just run around it, but it's not a problem to jump. And the ones in the middle, I almost always, not always lately, but I almost always put one in the middle here, because these are meant for jumping towards the goal. So there's nothing wrong with breaking that up, and I do it typically because you know, you just don't want players running back and forth there. I mean, they can if they want to. It's not a big deal. I'm not trying to restrict players, but a lot of times your design element, you want it to flow out of the court, and so that way it interrupts the wall. So there's and which is exactly what he's done here. So there's no problem doing that. Check for frame rate. I saw some while I was up top, but that was in monitor mode, which is typical because of all the invisible blocks and groups and things. You'll get that. You have used blocks. Yeah, you've used blocks for your containment, which is perfect. That's exactly what you should do rather than the wall pieces. You've, as far as I can tell, there are no perches, but really make sure that there's no possible places they can get a toe hold. That might be a problem right there. See if you can't back this up, because see where you're going to get a problem there is if a player tries to throw a pass right there, it's going to get snagged in here. See, there's the snag there that the ball is going to get snagged in. So maybe what you can do is, yeah, that's what you can do. These pieces here, I'm just gonna I'm gonna find one that's a little easier to see. This piece here, I'm gonna ungroup it. This piece here, yeah, that's kind of a hard one to do because of the shape. Have these walls straight up and down. Have that one straight up and down. That one straight up and down. Oh, you can't because it's... Yeah, that's a tough one because... Yeah, I'll bet you he had to figure out the same problem when he was building it. You see, then you end up with an overhang here. No matter how you do this, you're going to end up with an overhang. So there's really no good solution for that. But that is the worst way to do it. You don't want the ball. Yeah, the way you had it, I guess, is the best way. I don't know. It's kind of a... Maybe you can do it with more than one piece. Yeah, there we go. Get a larger piece in there. But this is the idea: is you have one piece. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know how you would do that because you only have rectangular invisible blockers. Maybe. Oh, I know. I got it. I hate doing patchwork, but you might end up having to do patchwork. Anyhow, you get the idea what I'm trying to do here. You can probably... Oh, that's a 4 by 8. You can probably better off to use a 8 by 16. See, because... Here, hold on a second. Because, let me just line this up. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now I think you get the idea. You have the main block piece there, and you can use a much... Here, let's just do this. There we go. There's the main block. And then you have a small block under here. And Fill that there. So now the only obstruction that's sticking into the court is this tiny little piece down here. Rather than that big gaping catch that was up there, now you've smoothed everything out. A ball is not going to be, well, you know, you're going to adjust it much better than what I've done here. Spend a little more time getting it done right, but you see what I mean. You as long as you make a hole that your player or a ball can't get stuck in. Oh, there you go. You actually don't even have to have any overhang. As long as the holes that you make are small enough that balls can't get through, you should be fine. So that's the idea of that. It's going to cost you a couple more pieces to do it, but you got a bit of budget to play with, and that will prevent that big catch from happening right there. You see that big catch right there? That could affect gameplay. So this fixes that. Now when the ball's thrown up here, it's going to take a nice bounce, where it bounces in an expected direction rather than who knows where it's going to go. So there you go. You can see both of them, the old and the new, and you can also, oh right, I forgot about this. That's one of the things I was going to get. You can also tilt these up a bit. You see, the idea is because they're thin, you make it just pop out, and then just push it back in until it's not popped out anymore. And you see, oh, there we go. That completely fills the gap. It doesn't have anything sticking out. See, because you've got a thick piece to work with there and a thick, semi-thick piece to work with there. You can do the same with this one here. Yeah, as I said, you're gonna do this much better than I'm doing it in the demonstration here. But you see, there we go. We've patched it. It's nice and smooth. And so, you know, and the nice thing is you do it once, duplicate it, stick it on the other side. So yeah, get that done. That's on your checklist to do. And almost everything else looks good. Oh, here is a problem though. And everyone falls into this trap. Your floor is grouped. Never, ever, 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 and I'll say it 3 more times, ever, 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 group the floor in Grifball. Your floor will shift eventually. If it hasn't shifted today, one of these days it will. It will shift. Always, always ungroup it. Place the pieces individually and lock them. Don't group them. Don't move them once they're in place. I would even say, I'm just going to see if you've lost any precision on these floors. You're lucky you haven't lost any precision on them. So that's actually pretty amazing. You see the angles at the bottom? Once you save and play a custom game on it, come back and see if those angles are all nice even numbers or if there's little odd decimal places after them. But never group a floor. Always leave it individual pieces, and then you just select them all and lock them. Okay, and then they'll never shift on you, because when you group a large floor, you're susceptible to the earthquake glitch. You're susceptible to any manner of things. Now that brings me to the next thing. Oh, I see you've done something. Okay. The blocks that you've picked have a nice thick top on them. So they are 128. This piece here. Now, if you can see on this piece here, you see that edge there? That's not actually a bump. But because that edge is there, the actual, let's say the actual wireframe for the piece is like that high again on top. So if there was another player in here, you'd see they'd be standing on it, but they'd be hovering just slightly above it. Now, the nice thing about using this piece, I've used these before too. The nice thing, I have used them and then I get rid of them, unfortunately. The nice thing about using these pieces, Well, first thing, a lot of people don't like them because it looks like their floors have bumps. But when you do the monitor trick where you fly up and you hold the A button to stay down, and you'll notice that there's no bumps whatsoever. It's perfectly smooth. But here's where the real advantage is when you decorate your floor, it's the same thing. These decorations, normally, if that was a what do you call it, one of the plane primitives, that would be a really heavy duty bump right there. But because he's used these pieces as floor, they've got a nice thick invisible top on them that you can bed other decorative bits in, and it's perfectly smooth. So bravo on that. You picked a good piece for the floor. They say a lot of people don't like these bumps and ridges on their floor, but it perfectly suits what you're doing here, and it's made for a nice, perfectly smooth floor, except for right there. You see, this kind of shows you what I mean. This shows you where the bumps are. You see, you get caught on that, but you don't get caught on anything else. So that way, when Grifball players slide in this, they aren't going to be booted out of their slide because they aren't going to be hitting any bumps whatsoever. So nice job on that. Oh wait, is this higher? Yeah, here we go. This piece here, I thought this was a bit higher. This piece here is perfect, but then you've got another piece in behind, and when you run my monitor over that, you see I get snagged on it. See, I'm holding the A button to keep my monitor moving down, and that's a perfect way to test for bumps. So that's going to have to be repaired. This piece at the back here, you're going to have to make it flatter, or I don't know what you can do, because this piece here is pretty well at the maximum height. And if you lower it any more, yeah, it's going to be really close. If you lower it any more, this piece is going to show. And I would almost say just to get rid of it, because that is going to be a problem with Grifball players. They come into slide, to hammer slide, and that's going to boot them out of their slide and pop them up, and they won't be able to finish their slide. So I'm just going to raise that up and see what's underneath it. And there's absolutely nothing underneath it. So one thing here, I hate to tear your cord apart, but one thing you could do, let's just have a look. One thing you could do is use the other side of this, and see, it has the appearance of a large bump, but there is none. So that's one possibility. But I'll let you figure out what to do. Just make sure that this piece does not create a bump. You know what? Let me try one more thing. Let's see if that makes a bump. Yeah, you see, even though it's the inverse of what I was talking about with these pieces here out here in the floor. This piece here, it's actually thicker than what it appears, or how it appears. So that didn't work. So yeah, you'll have to replace this, or try to find a piece that and they're just a matter of auditioning the pieces. Try to find a cylinder piece where the top is clear, like the regular floor pieces you have, so that you can see it but you don't bump on it. So it'd be a matter of going through them all and having a look at all of them to see which piece will fit in this spot without bumping. Or, as I said, just flip this over. Just flip this over and just get rid of that and just go with that look instead. So there's your choices. So get that fixed up. Everything else it appears to be fine. Get these top things fixed up. Just go over it one more time. Make sure there are no perches or catches. Yeah, I think that's it. I can't really see any other issues with this cord. So get that patched up, and go back and edit your map post to say that you've made the changes, and we'll take a look at it hopefully on the weekend. Maybe a bit later than that. I'm not exactly sure when I'm doing the second round, but what I'm probably going to do for the second round is just do like 4 or 5 at a time, and just put the one video up with the 4 or 5 maps on it. Easier than just doing all these individual ones. And I'll probably start live streaming them as well. I think I got my live streaming issues figured out, so I'm probably going to be live streaming these so you can watch them and comment live as I tear your courts apart. All right, so on to the next one.